Hello everyone in Art 100. I am here to give you a week 4 update. Okay, well, if you have looked at your calendar lately, and I'm hoping you have, you may notice that we have an exam coming up. And you also may notice that today, September 15th, there's a note on the calendar that says review for exam 1 opens. And this is to remind you that there's a nice window of time of 4 days when I'm giving you some extra material to study from for the exam that gives you kind of more specifics on what exactly might be on or I'm going to draw from for the exam anyway. So if you have read the orientation during the first week, you're probably familiar with the concept that I have reviews for these exams, and you probably also realize that this is something, the review opening and then the exam happening the next week, that's going to happen very regularly. This will happen from this point forward every 4 weeks. So week 4, review opens on Thursday. Week 5, exams open on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so if you look at your calendar, you see that the exam opens next week, the 19th, from 7:30 a.m. To when the ILC closes. You can take it anytime between 7:30 and 8 p.m., which is when the ILC Testing Center closes, and then the same for Tuesday. Now, of course, if you are proctoring at another campus or another college, your time may be different. It's up to you to figure out when you need to go and take your exam. But if you're taking your exam on campus, like most students will, it's Monday and Tuesday between 7:30 and 8 p.m. And pretty much that's how it's going to go. I don't believe at the moment that any of the holidays interfere with any of our test days. I can't remember off the top of my head. It changes every semester, of course. But when it does, if it does, we would just shift it one day to Tuesday and Wednesday. But our regular time is every 4 weeks, week 5, week 9, week 13, and then finals week is when we have our exams, and the review opens on Thursday the week before. So every exam's over 4 units, right? And I hope that makes sense. Now, you still next week have to do your regular work for your week 5 work, so keep that in mind. Hopefully you'll get that exam done early in the week. You have to, right? So you'll have the rest of the week to complete the rest of your work. All right, so let's just take a moment to look and see what that review looks like. So this is sort of how it looks like for you guys, right? Let me just pull up some student view settings. I know my student view is kind of limited, but I think it helps a bit. All right. So there's our nice pink bar to let us know that, warn us that something's going on, meaning that student view is open. So we'll go into modules, which is where we find most everything that we can't fit anywhere else, right? So you see there's unit 1. Okay, we've already done that. Let's hit that caret to hide it for a moment. Just hides it, doesn't make it disappear. See, it's still there. Let's do the same with unit 2. And unit 3, and you're probably still working on unit 4 this week, but let's go ahead and close that. And let's take a look at the next item. The next item says review for exam 1 before unit 5, and unit 5 obviously isn't open. So you have several web pages with text and with images that you use to study. So let's just take a peek at a couple of those. I'm not going to go over them. That's up to you to do on your own time. But you see that there's some sort of bullet points of things you're going to need to know about, and then images. Now this is important because when we study, I think when we have a visual, when we have an image, it really helps us to remember things. So you really should use these images that are in the review to help you study the text. Maybe even make yourself some little, flashcards or something. And the reason that's particularly important here is because on the exam, you will see images. And so each time you open a question on an exam, it's very likely that there will be an image. There's not an image for every single question, because sometimes images would give the answer away and we don't want to do that. But sometimes the image will be there to help you remember, kind of jog your memory about something. And so instead of reviewing all of the images we've looked at this semester so far, you can just make sure that you are making those associations between these images in the reviews. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I don't see a next button, and that's unfortunate. I think you normally do have a next button in a module, which is what this is. So hopefully you do have a next button, but you see that there's several of these. There's one for basically each section. Some of the sections are bigger, like venues and issues and content analysis. I mean, everything's sort of thrown together in one. So, sometimes we split them up, the review, to make them a little bit more meaningful. So each of them has some text, except maybe the first one might not have any text or any photos, but they all have photos that you're going to use to study. Okay. All right, and then when it comes time to take the quiz, what you're going to do, and I'm again not going to rehash this whole thing because the information's all there in modules. Why don't we just remind you of where that is? So information about how to do things, where to find things, remember, you can find in that orientation. And an orientation is it's still on the modules page, it's just all the way at the bottom. So you see here, I've closed it, can open it, and review sections on exams, on taking a proctored exam, right? So hopefully I won't get some emails on Monday or Tuesday. Usually it's Tuesday evening asking me, what's the passcode? Because I'm not going to give it to you. The passcode is held by the proctor. And that means that you have to go to the testing center in order to have the passcode entered and to take the exam. And so what proctoring means, as I explain here, is it's basically like being in a classroom environment where someone's making sure that you're not cheating, because it's not open book, it's not open notes, and you know that. So you can't take it at home, right? So hopefully I'm not going to get any of those messages on Tuesday, usually Tuesday evening. Where's the passcode? Well, you can't have it. So you probably know that if you're watching that, you're probably a diligent student and you already know that anyway. But if you don't, there's your reminder. You have to take it at a proctor testing center. Now, if you are closer to East Campus, there's a section in orientation on other exam sites. It gives you some information on how to set up testing. Now, you are supposed to do that during the first couple weeks of classes, but it's not too late. However, if you wait too long, it will be too late. There's paperwork that needs to go between our testing center and another proctor site, whether it's East Campus or whether it's somewhere outside the district that you're choosing to take your exam at. So keep in mind, if this is you, the time is now, if you haven't set this up already. Okay, I'm not going to set it up for you. You need to follow the directions, contacting people at the ILC testing center, and you need to find your own proctor center. I don't know where you live. I don't know what's there. It's up to you to find it out. And hopefully you've done it by now because it's week 4. Okay, so if you have any questions about that in advance of the exam, please do let me know. Then the only other thing I want to make a little note of, if you wouldn't mind, is just a brief note about the paper. So you have 2 papers this semester. One is due at midterm and one is due at the last day of classes. So the first paper is due October 16th. It's basically right before your midterm exam. So it's due on Sunday, October 16th at 11:59 p.m. and it requires you to go to an art gallery. So we have lots of art galleries in the Quad Cities. So if you live in the Quad Cities or nearby, you're going to find lots of examples. If you don't live near the Quad Cities, you need to find a substitute, or you're going to need to come to the Quad Cities or somewhere else. And it is possible that you're going to need to travel to do this. So luckily you have lots of time, and you've had lots of time to figure this out. So please let me know if after you've made a good faith effort to find your own substitute, if you need a substitute, if you need some help. But please do some legwork on your own first. This is really your responsibility if you're not going to be able to come to this venue. And hopefully you read the orientation and you know that already, right? So I do want to make one more point about the paper. Note, the Figge Art Museum is not listed as a suitable venue because it will be the subject of a later assignment. And you know from Unit 2 that the Figge Art Museum isn't a gallery anyway, and this is gallery experience, right? You know, Figge Art Museum's a museum, okay? So you know that the Figge Art Museum is not acceptable, not only because it's not a gallery, but also because it's not on this list. And this is important. If you want to pick a gallery that isn't on this list, you need to get it approved by me, whether it's something in the Quad Cities or whether it's something at another location in Illinois or Iowa or wherever you happen to be in the country. And it is your responsibility to get that information to me so I can research it and approve it and make sure it works. Okay? Because not all galleries work for this assignment. So not only does it say plainly, don't use the Figge Art Museum, but Figge also is not on this list. You have lots of choices on this list. There's stuff in Rock Island, there's stuff in Davenport, there's stuff in Moline. So you won't have a problem if you live in the Quad Cities. Alrighty then, well that is it for me for today. Lots of stuff about the upcoming exam, about the review, and about the paper, which will be coming due in a few weeks. Please let me know if you have any questions by using the inbox. Thanks.